one of the biggest things that I think guys struggle with is when it comes to whether they're gonna stay in a marriage or they're gonna leave a marriage or it's time to call it quits is the kids. Um, that's the biggest thing that I think guys struggle with, and they it confuses them. They think that for the most part, I need to hold this thing together no matter how bad it is, no matter how, bad my wife is treating me, even though I may have done something to cause her to treat me this way. At some point, I got to say, you know what, we're just not compatible. We're just not going to make it. So I got to make a decision here.
I think that's a even difficult situation because women stay for kids as well. Do I think men struggle with that? Yes, some men do, but some men don't struggle with it at all because shoot, they don't want to be there for the kids or not. They
I ain't
don't,
talking about them dudes.
so
I'm talking about the guys that
so
that actually wanted a family. I'm
yes.
talking about the guys that actually wanted a family, started out wanting a woman, and the
Hmm.
kids came, and now they feel like they got the family, they got the kids, the house, and all that, and now they want to go ahead and things are not working out, and the last thing that's holding them there is the kids. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think it's always a bad idea, regardless to who's the person holding out. Because if you're arguing, you're bickering, you don't want to be with each other, the atmosphere in the household is not going to be pleasant, and the kids pick up on that. So, is that healthy for the kids? Is that mentally good for the kids? No kid should be subjected to adults walking around mad with each other, or it's not pleasant, or it's feeling forced. Kids have feelings and emotions just like we do, and they can feel when the parents are not in sync with each other as well, sometimes even more. And so is that healthy for kids to think that's the way it should be? Should a man set the example for his son that he should stay around regardless to how bad he's being treated by a woman, or how she, it could be some verbal abuse and she's talking to him any kind of way as a result of that, and you think that's a good example for his son or his daughter? His daughter will then think, I'm gonna get me a man like that, or the son will say, well, it's okay, my dad let my mama talk to him like that, so you just kind of stay, and you create this vicious cycle of bad examples for your children, or it makes them shy away from relationships altogether because they haven't seen something healthy within them household. Sometimes you can separate from that other person and move on and have a healthy relationship, and a kid get to experience both sides of that. The mama can have a healthy one and the daddy can have a healthy one. They just don't have a healthy relationship together. I just don't, when a relationship is not in a good state and it's not healthy, I don't think the people should stay together. I think it does more
The
harms to the
problem
kids.
is whenever the biggest thing is
Hmm.
when is enough, and how soon is too soon, and that's the question. Because I mean, man, you can come up with all kind of excuses to check out or something.
But when it
Like,
becomes
like,
emotionally overbearing, where you're calling that person, when you're being disrespectful to each
well,
other.
how don't you just stop being disrespectful?
But usually when a woman gets to that point that she's being disrespectful to a man that she was in love and she was respectful to, then that means she's out of the marriage. Because it then you start to question, can you regain that respect? And according to most men that I talk to, they say no. When a woman starts disrespecting you, there is no coming back from that. What are your thoughts?
That's true. I think at some point the only way you're gonna gain your respect is you gotta prove to her that you'll leave her ass where she's standing, and that's what you gotta do. So, but the thing about it on the woman part, why don't you just not be disrespectful, and
Well,
just not and just because the thing about it, anybody can, if you want to if something feel good on the outside, and I'm not necessarily talking about a person on the outside, I'm talking about the life on the outside. You think that you can find something better, you think that life would be better for you on the outside, of course you're gonna find a way to check out. And of course, if you're a little disrespectful, you're gonna become a lot disrespectful.
well, I
But Go ahead.
I was answering the question. You say when is enough enough and when should it actually end? Because sometimes people just look for any reason. And I say when disrespect becomes a part of the relationship and when it becomes physically volatile, at those times, that's when it's done. There's no coming back from that. When a woman is calling a man out of his name and doing things disrespectful to him and challenging his manhood, that should be enough. And when they become physical, if she's putting her hands on him or he's putting his hands on her, that is enough. So at that time in it, to me, there's no repairing that. To me, some people feel like you can go to counseling and you can fix that and you can start respecting them again. But I don't know. Most of the men I talk to say they wouldn't chance that. They don't. If it gets to the point that she becomes disrespectful, that's when it's over for them. For the women, if it gets to a point where it becomes physical, that's when it's over for them.
Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
This is a better question.
Mm-hmm.
Can a woman be a good woman if she's a disrespectful woman? I'm not talking about in general. I'm just talking about in general how you live your life. You just don't generally disrespect people. Because if you don't do that, then that should never come out in the marriage.
No, no. How can you be a good woman if you're disrespectful to people on any level? Whether it's in your marriage, in your friendships, in your relationships, your coworker. If you're a disrespectful person, you're not a good person. You have to understand,
Have you ever been
the
disrespectful
boundaries
in a
of,
relationship?
have I ever been disrespectful in a
Yeah.
relationship? Yeah, I have.
Okay. So, and I'm not gonna make this personal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go the other direction and say in general. There's a lot of women that be disrespectful in relationships. But there's a lot of women that are not disrespectful at all. And you said that a woman can't be a good person if she's disrespectful. So I'm trying to logically try to put
Well,
that together.
when you said it the way you said it, you made it seem in general if she's a disrespectful person. Now, there are some things that people can do to cause you to be disrespectful to them. So if you're causing a disrespect, it's almost like there's this standard that men want to set women at. A man could do, if you're not a disrespectful woman, a man could do anything he wants to you. He can hit you, he can cheat on you, he can talk to you any kind of way. But if you are a respectful and decent woman, you're not going to say anything about it. You're not going to do anything about it. No, we're human. And a person can only take so much. So if a person is doing things that makes you feel a certain way, and of course women are emotional creatures, when you start to tap into those emotions, that's almost like punches. How many do I take before I swing back? So yeah, sometimes you can get a little disrespectful when you're being punched so much. And I don't mean physically being punched. I mean you're doing things, whether it's cheating on that person, talking to them any kind of way, being mean to them, withholding sex from them, because men withhold sex too. So when you start to do all those things, do you expect the woman just to sit there and still be in her femininity and say, it's okay, he's going to stop doing those things eventually?
No, but you can make a decision on what the actions you're going to take, but being disrespectful, if that's not you, then you're not going to do it. You just gonna
I think
you're gonna go to leaving the relationship, moving on. That's the options you're gonna take. You're not gonna go to the disrespect part of it because that's just not you.
I think in given situations, if you're pushed, we all can be a little disrespectful. That's just like men with other men. A man can say, I'm not a disrespectful man. Or, men like to say, oh, I match, when it comes to male and male relationship, I match disrespect with disrespect. But when a female say, I match disrespect with disrespect, then she should never be disrespectful.
No, because
No, absolutely not.
if you say you're a woman that's feminine and you're soft, then disrespect can't exist in the same place. Then you're not soft. You just a disrespectful woman, and
Well, I guess there's a
that's
lot of
just how it
disrespect
is.
for women because
It is.
energy match energy, and if you
You
if you're
shouldn't.
if you're giving someone disrespectful energy, like I said, how many times should hit dog get hit before he fights back. Like, no, you just don't stay there and just constantly be abused and just
Who
think
said
that's
you had?
okay.
Who said you had to stay?
But you can't leave. You may be
Like
in a
how?
situation where if the man is the breadwinner and he takes care of everything, you may not be able to physically just get up and leave. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to take your
You
children?
think being disrespectful gonna fix the situation?
No, I didn't say that. I said out of being emotional, you may say something that's disrespectful. You may, because you're so hurt. You're an emotional person and there's only so much you can take sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're just a disrespectful person. I beg to differ with that.